All right, I have noon, so I think we'll just go ahead and get started. As a reminder to everybody, we are recording this session. So if you are uncomfortable with your face being shown or your voice being used, please keep your camera off and you can put your questions in the chat or your comments in the chat and we can read them from there. Otherwise, welcome. It is so great to see everybody today in this month's Globe Observer Connect conversation. I'm Holli Kohl, and this month we're going to do something a little different in that instead of just hosting, I and my colleague Kristen we are going to be the guest speakers because we've been reflecting on Globe's 30th anniversary and the role Globe Observer has had in Globe's history over the past almost decade. And we're really proud of our Globe Observer community and the many things that you have all accomplished. So we're excited to reflect on that together and to celebrate Globe with you today. So we're going to start today's session. We put together a little video that was part of the larger Globe 30th anniversary video. We put just to get a short video together looking at what Globe Observer has done in the last since 2016, and we'll show that first, and then Chris and I are both going to share some things that we have valued about the project over the last little while, and then we'll open it up to hear some of your experiences and the things that you are particularly proud of. So let's go ahead and watch that video, and then we'll go from there. Thanks.
The Globe Observer app launched in 2016 with the goal of expanding Globe's impact by bringing in new audiences. Starting with Globe Clouds, the app has grown to include 5 citizen science protocols and data entry for trained users. In 2016, Globe Observer app launched with Clouds. In 2017, Mosquito Habitat Mapper was added, along with the Eclipse tool. In 2018, the Land Cover tool was added. And in 2019, the Trees tool was added. Trained users could begin doing data entry using the app in 2021. And in 2024, we started to highlight achievements in the app. We have welcomed over 290,000 new volunteers to Globe. From citizen scientists, to libraries, to camps. Even cruises, the Civil Air Patrol, Scouts, corporate groups, and of course, lifelong learners. Volunteers have added over 2 million observations from every continent to the Globe database. That's a lot of data. Since 2017, the Globe Clouds team at NASA Langley Research Center has compared cloud observations to satellite data. By April 2025, the Globe Clouds team had made over 1.5 million satellite comparisons. Globe observers have impacted science. They've documented dust storms, recreated historic photographs to document change, tracked down Apollo moon trees, monitored river ice, helped train AI to identify mosquito larvae, captured changes in clouds and air temperature during eclipses, identified invasive mosquitoes in new locations, and user-contributed data has resulted in 23 peer-reviewed scientific papers and at least 9 funded research projects. Thank you to all of our Globe Observer volunteers.
Thank you. I appreciate that video, and every time I see the map with all of the things that people have contributed to the program, it just gives me chills. It's amazing to see your observations from all over the planet, and including the oceans and Antarctica, places we never dreamed we would be able to send Globe. And it's so exciting to see that. So a hearty thank you to our community. I'm going to share, I put together a few pictures to guide kind of my reflections on things that I really appreciate. Um, so one of the one of the things that I have really loved about um, being part of Globe Observer is getting to know our community and hearing your stories. And sometimes that's been at large public events, like you see there on the top left, where we've gotten to interact with communities. And in some cases, it's been talking to people who don't know about Globe yet. But lately, it's been fun to go to events and talk to people and hear them say, "Oh yeah, I have that app. I do cloud observations, or I've participated in Globe," and that's really fun to get to meet the community. Um, I've been so impressed with some of the groups that we've worked with. That center picture, center top, is Australia Scouts, who participated in our land cover challenge in 2019, I want to say. Um, and they went places in kind of inner Australia that just did not have a lot of data. And so they got some really unique observations, which were exciting to see. And we've worked with other groups that have done just amazing things. Whether the Civil Air Patrol currently, which I'll talk about in a minute, or um, other scouting organizations that we've worked with, libraries, um, corporate groups. Just I've been so excited to work with these communities. On the right, I have 3 different volunteers just representing the range of people that we get to know, whether it's you write to us through the help desk and say, what is wrong with something's not working properly in the app, and we really appreciate you telling us that and working with us, or sharing things that they've done. Adriana over there in the forest has made something like 15,000 observations, and I know there are others on this call who have made just as many. So it's really been fun to get to know you both through your data and through our interactions. Monique in the bottom right there, she is a taxi driver who is also a storm spotter and a Globe ambassador, if you will, who just shares Globe with everybody. And it was so fun to get to know her. Um, it's been fun to work on projects like with Callie there in the bottom, who her parents went and documented land and in the Dixie National Forest, and she got to go back as an intern decades later and document that same place. And so it was a family story. The pillow represents one of our early observers who was so excited about observing clouds from her home every single day that she made a throw pillow with her location on it because she was so connected to it. And then our communities who are using Globe for their good, which is that far a lower left picture in Alaska, where they were using Globe Observer to document river ice conditions for safety, which was really cool. I've also really enjoyed coming together to do big things like our challenges, where we said we're all going to go out and look at land cover. And this was the Go on a Trail challenge here that I'm showing, but we had cloud challenges and mosquito challenges and trees challenges. Last year we went and found moon trees, which was really fun. So I really liked coming together as a community and seeing what we can do when we all work together. The eclipses, I'll show you here. I know I talked about getting chills looking at data, but this is another one where we said, okay, on this day, we're going to look at this one phenomenon. And you can see in the maps of people participating in the clouds data, the path of the eclipse, both in 2024 and 2017. So just what we can do when we work together is so amazing to me. And then I've really loved seeing communities come together and do something that is meaningful to them as well as meaningful to us. I have referred to the Civil Air Patrol a few minutes ago, but this is one we're working with currently, where they're observing contrails for us. And they're also learning about aviation weather, which is very meaningful to them as a community, but it's also meaningful to us. And so it's been a lot of fun to work with a variety of communities doing things that really originated with them, is for them, but also helps us. So I I love just, I think, the personal connection and the connection we get just by seeing your participation. Kristen, what have been your highlights?
Yeah, and I decided to focus on, so one of the things that I don't know if folks realize, there's, we have now this AI photo approval, but still some of those photos come through and get flagged to be checked. And before that, it was, we had users, and I think I saw Brian Campbell on. I think Brian is probably the one who does the most of the photo approval, but I go in there and check the photos to make sure there are, that the faces have been blurred appropriately and there's nothing inappropriate and stuff. But then I also, if you see on our social media on Fridays, not every single Friday, but most Fridays, put out like sort of a weekly highlights video. And sometimes it's actually related to the science. Like I'll put out all cirrus clouds or something like that. I think, yeah. But other times it's just, you start looking at these photos that people have sent in through their observations and the scientific data that's been collected, but also some of the incidental things that just, you notice patterns or things like that. And so what I decided that I would talk a little bit about is just some of the entertaining things that I've noticed in those photos. And I think it tells us a little bit about our observers, but, not necessarily who did the observation, but just the, what it is. So these are just a very small selection. I don't remember when I started doing these previews, but this is a pretty early one. So just like seeing, and these don't have any sound to them. So it's just, it's just the pictures, but like people are doing things. People are collecting data out on boats. People are gardening. Somebody rode a scooter to do an observation, a snowboarder. Somebody has their guitar out. Maybe they were fishing. We've got like orienteering, all of these things that, these are the down photos. So this is not about the reason we ask for the down photos is it can kind of confirm like the surface conditions and things like that, but you get people walking their dogs or like they're skiing, and I don't know, it's just one of those, just sort of a kind of fun thing to be able to see. And then so then, the other things like noticing pets, like I actually start to recognize some observers' dogs because they're always in the photos. But the dogs and the cats that are, people are out on walks or they're on their back porch. And again, the pets are not related to the data. The data is the land cover photos or the clouds photos. But just, you start to see things like there's a very happy dog in an observation. Some of these may be repeated from the other down photos. But those look like a lot of the same dogs there, right? The dogs and the cats, occasionally other animals, like the goat there. I don't know if that was actually somebody's pet or not. Unusual animals. This is pretty entertaining because sometimes there are, I saw that had the goat there, but, we've seen some other sorts of things. So penguins, we had penguins in an observation. We've got a rooster. Swans. Again, I'm focusing not, but I feel like this is part of the sort of the community aspect of these are people taking these observations in different places around the world, and we get to see just sort of the what's around them. And so that's one of the things that I've enjoyed. Several goats. There's a few different goats in these photos. Ducks. And some more roosters. It's mostly cats and dogs, I have to say. But so this one is one that took a while to put together because and this one is actually one that I took, I have to confess, that I saw the moose and it's like, oh, I need to take an observation that has a moose in it, so that I can use it in a photo. And I think, that maybe we can open it up. This is a kind of fun one too. I have more of these than we probably need to do. But so, like you can also see, and actually I love when people's feet are in there because you can see, like here's some examples of people who were clearly taking observations with friends. So there's not just one set of feet, but there's multiple feet, and maybe these were students, or I'm sure I have some on the cruise ship. Sometimes there's multiple feet, but clearly they're all gathering together to collect data. I mean, that's clearly I think on a boat, so that's one of the cruises. But you see some of the different surface conditions, but you also, I mean, it's clearly warmer there than in the last picture because we've got barefoot compared to the snow boots. But again, it's just, these sort of incidental things, but showing the community there. Somebody maybe was taking a tree circumference because they had a tape measure there. And this is one of the things that I've enjoyed, is just getting a little glimpse of and this, I think I must have put this one out in your Valentine's Day, because that's one of the Valentines that Heather Mortimer, our graphic designer, did. I'm trying to think if there's any others. Oh, I guess I will mention at least one more here, because I think this is neat. We've talked about some of our observers that are really consistent and observe a lot. So this is an observer I think this one I picked was from Indiana, but this is somebody who takes land cover observations almost every day. And so I was able to put together, and you can see it's the same spot. They're taking almost the same view, slight differences, but over time you start to see some of the changes. You can see that sort of that tree getting a little bit brown there. Eventually we'll start to see some of the color changes. But, again, this is somebody who has been kind enough to contribute data on a very regular basis. Now we're starting to see the colors changing. A lot of the leaves have fallen off. And because they take the observations from the same place, and I don't necessarily even need to know this person's name, I just know that they're somebody who makes a point of going out every day or almost every day and taking observations. And you can see, I don't actually remember if I had this video go all the way until the snow, but you can definitely see the differences there as we're going along. Let's see if I took this one all the way to snow. No, I only said that was just fall color. But so, and I've made, I don't know how many, I've probably made hundreds of those videos now of just trying to find fun pictures that may have some sort of theme. I mean, sometimes it's things that are totally random, just because I'll start seeing like observations that have tables or chairs. And it's like, oh, that's something, that's kind of cool. And again, not necessarily related to the data purpose, but just kind of fun and building a sense of who people are separate from the data they're collecting.
Yeah, I agree. Looking at the photos is really fun. And I do appreciate also seeing repeat observations from the same location, because that's really interesting and valuable data. That's how you track change over time. And you are contributing to a record that is now 30 years long. And now we're getting into kind of significant territory in terms of a long-term data record that that has really interesting value. So anyway, thank you. Thank you to our observers. So now I would love to hear from you. What have been some of the highlights of participating in Globe Observer for you? And as a reminder, if you are not comfortable with your face or voice being recorded, go ahead and put that in the chat and we will read it for you. But if you are comfortable, please feel free to speak up.
Hi, John from El Paso, Texas. How you doing? I gotta admit that when we started, I've been using the Globe Observer for a long time. I remember when we first started using it in 2017 at a project over here at UTEP. The kids kind of really liked it, and then these are high school students at the time, and then now I use it all the time for my physics and my astronomy courses, to actually go out and survey what they see using all the data that they do collect and the data that they do find on the Globe Observer app, to actually use, or from the Globe Observer database, to look at different type of phenomena that actually happen in our local area, and use that specifically for clouds. And we started using now more for land cover. We're using those changes and understanding land cover and looking at physical attributes or physical characteristics. Like, for example, we could talk about emissivity, we could talk about albedo, we could take a look at fluid dynamics, looking at the clouds, cloud formations, what you see in the clouds, what are we seeing that are that are proxies for understanding other, physical processes. And so it's a great learning tool. I've been using this in my class definitely ever since the pandemic, actually. So I've been using that heavily, and it's been very useful. I think I've got a lot of feedback. I wish I could share it with you. I didn't get all of them now, but I got to see, like, for their final exam, they had to use the Globe Observer app, and they were able to realize they didn't realize that all these changes were occurring in their everyday lives when they actually took the time to look up, for example. And so they actually understood a little bit better they were more aware of weather. They were more now in tuned and understanding and really wanting to know more about what is impacting their weather. Why are we getting all these dust storms, for example? And I think the Globe Observer, the Globe app, has so in tuned all of the students that I've actually encountered with, and we're also bringing that also to this Saturday to the Science Museum over here downtown. We're going to include little observation times where we get a bunch of little guys go outside, and we actually help them and with their parents take a look at the land cover and look at the sky for the clouds, and really start to put two and two together, make it as like a learning experience for them to see, what how everything is interconnected. And I think it's a great way for not only data collection, as we've also used it for the eclipse. I mean, that's awesome. It was like we got a lot of cooperation there. Excuse me, but I think one of the things that we're really trying to get into is take it to the next level and see what other applications we can actually have students at the college level actually be able to utilize, learn from it, especially from the biology aspect, from geology aspect, from a physics aspect too. So it's a tool in our tool shed that we're using. It's like I said, it's been phenomenal. So it's one of the things that I can say that very much, that it's been a great tool for people who are teaching online and who are teaching in person. So at least that's my experience. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Todd. And we've appreciated the feedback and innovation, the feedback we've gotten from you, and the innovation that you've shared with us in the ways that you've used Globe Observer with your community.
Oh, thanks.
And actually, I would add that that's a point that I think has come up as we're doing some documentation of the last 10 years, is that there's a lot of things, as I was going back, a lot of things, like there was even something about users recommending like the satellite notification pop-ups that was back years ago. That's something that we implemented, or suggestions about how to improve the app. Now, of course, we can't do everything that's suggested for various reasons, but it is something where we do listen and we do pay attention, and we have incorporated feedback we've gotten from users about how to improve the app, to improve the website, what resources and training people want to have. So do understand that we do pay attention to all of those things.
Anyone else want to share a highlight?
Hey, Holly, can I pop in real fast?
Of course. Most
All
welcome.
right. So one of my favorite things, of course, working a lot with globe trees, is that one, echo a lot of what, you said and Kristen said about, repeat measurements, and I also like, and I'm just going to share just a picture I have on my screen here, is one like this, where we get a lot of measurements at the same location, not necessarily the same exact spot, but the same location. What you're looking at in the middle is Monsignor McClancy Memorial High School in Queens, New York, where they took tree-height observations in lots of locations, around the school. And the inset image is at the St. Rose Catholic School in Perrysburg, Ohio, where they also did that. And then a lot of these folks were able to do some comparisons. The teachers were able to do some comparisons with some of the NASA satellite data, like for ICET-2. So, and that's a lot, and that's appreciated by scientists, because they like a lot of data in one location. Because when we're looking at the satellite data, we're looking at that concentrated data, that concentrated location. So that's just one thing that we definitely really appreciate. We love the same measurements of the same things, because that really gets into what you mentioned, Holly, you looking at the change over time, but then also having that data density in a smaller area like this.
Yeah, that reminds me, when we were looking at, after we released the trees tool and we were writing a paper about it just to say, hey, here's what it is and what it can do. We were looking at how to verify or data to back up how accurately the trees tool in the app was measuring tree height. And we were able to do that because one class of students in, was upstate New York or Queens, New
No,
York?
it was there. It was that one that Brian
It's
was showing.
Queens. Yep.
Oh, it's at that school that you showed.
Yeah.
Very good. They had taken many observations of the same tree, and all the students had taken this observation of the same tree over time, and it was close enough in time, and we knew it was the same location. So we had a lot of data to really compare how different people use the app and get at the height and what the error was, and that was really great. And we couldn't have done that without that particular teacher and set of students collecting that data of that tree over and over and over and over.
It looks like Owami Kamalo, you've turned on your video. Did you want to contribute something?
Yes, I did. Greetings to everyone. I am from South Africa, actually, KZN, South Province. So I'm representing our in high school. So we've been a part of Globe, I think, since 2000, since it was launched in 2016. But then I joined the team in my 8th grade in 2021. However, Globe at our school, specifically under the science club, we began with 5 of our learners going to India. I think it was Kilani, I think in 2018. They were part of the group who are going to investigate and report back on environmental changes in India. And then 2018 as well, our school was named one of the top contributors when it comes to observations, right? So we were awarded an award. But then specifically in my time frame where I've been in EHS, I think the biggest highlight was when we hosted our own workshop to get more kids involved in Globe and the Science Lab, because we've noted that kids, when they think of Globe, they think, oh, it's American, so it's only like those smart learners who are very need to be good at science, who just contribute in the science community alone and just have your contributions there and make an impact in science. So as our school is an educational village, which means we host many other schools in our own facilities, we've seen that in many other schools, there's this interest to join and be active in Globe and the community. However, there was this discrepancy of they didn't know how to do it. So seeing the learners being excited and just the sheer participation in the Globe app after being inducted by myself and Mrs. Hubert, our science teacher, our science coach, actually, I think it's really exciting to see that there's young people becoming more and more involved in Globe and in the science community. And I think recently with the Mission Mosquito, it was the main reason why I did my IPSS project on mosquitoes, because there was a real need to investigate this apparent rise in mosquito populations based on the climate change and the improper management of waste materials in our area. So we've seen that being done in the IPSS for this year, and also some of our learners, including myself, are going to the ESCOM Expo, which is a national competition for young scientists, again using information from the Globe app. So Globe really in our own area has been a really big contributor and a really big help in exposing more kids to the science community and also helping to grow the understanding and knowledge of science, and that it's not only, let's say, engineering, but there's also many other sciences involved. And as the trees and the clouds cover show, that there's really a lot of things to be done on the Globe app. Thank you.
Thank you. That is really inspiring. Anyone else want to share something? We're at 12:30. We normally wrap up at 12:30, but I'm happy to stay on for a little longer if anyone else has anything you want to share.
I'll share real quick. If that's all right. Just for those of us partners who work with educators and have been doing this a long time, in the past it was clipboards, right? And pencils and hard copy paper and a lot of work writing down everything and then getting them back into the, building where we'd have to get online and then enter all the data. And, even just collecting the data would take usually a class period. So you'd have to hope that they would enter it the next time on their own. And just the app has completely changed everything. And I've seen some of our educators even specifically getting class iPad sets if they didn't have them already, just for the purpose of doing Globe. So it's been a game changer in so many ways.
Well, and that was part of the goal, was to try to make the data collection easier, to take advantage of the, this amazing technology we all carry around in our pockets, and make it easier for teachers, but also open it up to other people who wouldn't necessarily have thought to participate in Globe, but now are, because it's easy to do with the cell phone app. Yeah.
There was one thing I kind of want to add. I just put something in the chat, a link to one of the presentations we did like 3 or 4 years ago using the Globe app. And on one of the slides, there was a really interesting capture of dust storms, because this was actually specifically a workshop in Arizona talking about dust storms. And on one of those slides, I don't know if you guys want to share that, but it was to show how important it is to actually collect data and actually show time changes of when it was when a dust storm was actually coming into the El Paso area, and it was actually really cool to see that change within just like 2 or 3 hours. It went from slightly dusty to like desert like dust. I mean, thick dust in the air, to it actually changed the color into the typical orange colors that you would see in a dust storm when you're that obscured from the dust. So it's something that's that also helps in public mitigation for these dust storms, especially in the area that we're in, like the New Mexico, Arizona, West Texas corridor.
Thank you. I'm having trouble with my stuff to share, but actually, somebody from the Midwest just shared one today. We just posted on the Globe website right before this meeting. So dust storms happen everywhere in the world, and it's really helpful to get that data. So thank you.
So 2 things I'll mention as upcoming events are June Globe Observer Connect. I just got posted the information on the website yesterday, but it's going to be about a new clouds game, card game, developed by the Globe Clouds team at NASA Langley, called Nube, which is clouds in Spanish. So it's sort of similar to sort of based on Uno, but not exactly the same. But that's and there's information on the Globe Observer website, and you can print it out and cut out the cards and play along. So that's going to be June 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you go to observer.globe.gov/go-connect, well, after I reset it, it'll go. Right now, it still goes to this one, but it'll go to the one for the next one very shortly. And the other thing I'll mention is that the Globe annual meeting in July, because I know we have some folks who are tied into that, but it's going to be virtual only, and it's going to be free to register. So if the registration isn't quite out yet, traditionally it's been a little bit hard for some of our non-teachers to participate in that, but it is, because it's virtual and because there's no registration. If that's something that's of interest, stay tuned for information about how to attend the Globe annual meeting for parts of it, or as much of it as you want. It'll be July 14th and 15th. So those are 2 upcoming opportunities for those who might be interested.
Well, thank you for joining us today. I think with that, we will adjourn until next time, but please join us in June to learn about the Nube game. It's a really fun game. So I'm excited to learn how to play and learn how to get your own copy of it. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Bye.